On this episode of One-on-One, a very colorful administrator here in the diocese, but I want you to hear his story. It is unbelievable, the journey that led him to be the diocesan administrator. You won't want to miss this program. Father P.J. Madden. It's all next.
One-on-One is brought to you by the Law Office of Waits and Downer.
As a seminarian, you started at a certain place and you moved from there. How did each place shape you and make you better? Take me down that road.
As a seminarian, they sent me out to Golden Meadow. I had never heard of the place. I went down there, I was 54 years of age. Now, remember, I came back to the seminary as a widower at 54 years of age. Mm-hmm. These people took me to themselves in the most beautiful way, with the most open-hearted love I could ever imagine. And I promised them that if ever I was ordained, if it was God's will that I be a priest, I would always tell everybody, I'm a Golden Meadow priest. I am a Golden Meadow priest with an Irish accent. And that's what I tell everybody. And it works, because it's true.
Cajun Irish.
Cajun Irish. They just made me their own. The pastor at the time was Father Carol Collins. He was going away on a St. Paul pilgrimage when I arrived. So because of my age, some of those people thought I was already a flippant priest, even though I was dressed in civilian clothes like you are now. Mm-hmm. Just like we didn't wear cassocks in those days as seminarians or anything like that. So I was dressed in ordinary civilian clothing. But the people immediately took me to themselves and began to invite me to do all kinds of things like burials. They would have let me do baptisms if I could. They'd let me say Mass if I could. But they just made me feel that not alone was I among them, but that I was already their priest. Mm-hmm. It was an incredible experience. And it became a big joke among us that I'm allergic to all shellfish, which I am. So that became an issue of continual comedy, that Father PJ is a hamburger man and we want to feed him all the seafood.
You're allergic to shellfish,
yes.
And you're in Golden Meadow.
Yes, and they would still bring me the shellfish.
Come on, God, what were you thinking on that one?
they would bring me, when they go fishing and things, they would bring it into the rectory and say, we know you won't eat it, but here it is anyway. Somebody will eat it. That was Golden Meadow. Then I was ordained a priest and I started in the Rose. When I came back from Ireland after going home after my ordination in 2004, 18 years ago, I went home for a month's vacation, came back to start my ministry. I was greeted at New Orleans airport by 40 people from La Rose with banners waving to welcome me. Now, what more could a man ask for?
Right.
This was before I even started in the parish. This group of people came to the airport to greet me and make me welcome. Dean Danos was the pastor, a native of La Rose himself. Right. So from then on, it was just a love-in.
That's always been a special place, though.
Oh, yeah. Look,
and a lot of bayou areas have that same heartwarming effect.
There's a new world below Lockport. Of that, I'm convinced, having spent so much time in Golden Meadow and La Rose. I'm very privileged to have met the unique, deeply Cajun culture of those areas and those peoples down there. And they're just all wonderful people. Everywhere I've served, I've been blessed. But down there, then I came up, I was assigned then by Bishop Jacobs to St. Bernadette to Pat O'Brien. And it was a wonderful year. And then Bishop Jacobs appointed me pastor of St. Genevieve in Thibodeau. I arrived at St. Genevieve Parish in Thibodeau as they were celebrating their Golden Jubilee as a parish. Mm-hmm. And we had the most wonderful group of people already in place, and they just took me to themselves as if I was just an add-on to their committee, which was a magnificent experience. And they did a wonderful job on celebrating the Golden Jubilee. Mm-hmm. But God bless them. They were so humble and so wonderful. They gave me credit for things that they all did themselves. It was a great, great experience.
Mm-hmm. So when you were with Father Pat O'Brien, that was double trouble, right?
It was great fun. It was just great. It was just...
That was Irish squared.
It was Irish squared in every sense of the word. It was very funny. There was great ministry because he was an outgoing priest who was always available to people, Pat. Always.
He was one of my chaplains at Vanderbilt.
Really?
When we were at Vanderbilt. He was. It must be some of the Irish. They have a great sense of humor.
Yeah, well, he had definitely.
Yeah.
Pat certainly had.
When you see your journey and it's building and God throws a curve at you. You go into depression, but you bounce out and he's still pulling on you. He's pulling on you. You're minding your own business, doing your job, and the phone rings. We want you to be the head man. I see you smiling, but it wasn't all smiles, was it?
Well,
Were you nervous?
first reaction was, I think I told you this in my interview after I was elected, was when Father Charlie Perkins called me as chairman of the consultors. He's a retired priest like I am, and we live side by side. So when Charlie called me, first of all, the meeting was meant to be a 2-hour-long meeting. And I knew it had started at 10 o'clock. At 10 o'clock sharp, I sat before the Blessed Sacrament and prayed for the men who were meeting to elect. And I had someone in mind myself that I really believed was going to be elected. And I prayed that if they elected that priest, that he would be a good shepherd for us until we got a new bishop. And then I just sat back and I began to read my novel that I was reading with a cup of tea. And the phone rings at 25 past 10. I will never forget the moment. 25 past 10 on the dot. And it's Charlie. And he starts, the College of Consultors have just elected you diocesan administrator. Do you accept? I said, Charlie, for feck's sake, it's April Fool's Day. What the hell do you really want? I actually did say, and he'll tell you I said that to him. He said, this is not a joke call. And he repeats the sentence. And this is as true as I'm sitting in front of you, Martin Falls. I sat back in my armchair, and all of a sudden, my face is directed up to my wedding picture on my bookshelf.
Oh, wow.
And there's Mary looking at me. And I just burst out crying, and I said, Mary, love, what are you doing to me? What are you doing to me? That's how I reacted.
Mary
Sorry, I
had
got emotional for a moment.
Mary had a plan.
Mary, I said, what are you doing to me? What are you doing to me? And I started crying. And Charlie started saying to me on the phone, calm down. Everything's going to be okay. Calm down. I said, Charlie, it's not real. He said, yes, it's real. So they brought me up to where they had met. And as I walked into the room where I had been elected, Father J. Baker is one of the consultors. And everyone who knows Father J. knows he's a beautiful singer. And as I walked into the room where I'd been elected, they're standing behind the table at which they'd met. And he starts singing, oh, Danny boy.
I could see Father J doing that.
Everybody just joined in, and it was just a wonderful moment. And from that moment on, to answer your question specifically, those 7 men I knew were around me. And I felt the power of those men's love. And I knew then, if you want me, guys, and God wants me, here I am, but you've got to work with me. And they've never let me down since.
For all of your cases, including those with catastrophic significance, call Waits and Downer Law Firm.
But you didn't only feel the love from within. I see you around people. I've covered news stories where you were there to accept checks or do different things, or people love you. That's got to make you feel good.
Oh, I feel incredibly grateful to God and to the people. I feel grateful to the people that have always made me feel part of themselves. I've never for a second in my ministry here felt like an outsider, Martin, ever. And for that, I am eternally grateful. I'm on now because of the position I hold. I'm a member of the Board of Trustees of 2 seminaries, St. Ben's Seminary north of the lake and Notre Dame Seminary in New Orleans. Mm-hmm. In those seminaries, there are between the 2 of them over 200 men in consideration or in formation for ministerial priesthood in the Roman Catholic Church. The boards of trustees met there about 5 weeks ago. I'm on that board automatically. The morning St. Ben's, the afternoon Notre Dame, chaired by Archbishop Greg Amond, who's the principal of our province, they call it province. There were bishops around that table from a variety of dioceses, and I was around that table from this diocese. Sitting to the right of Bishop Greg Amond is Father Greg from St. Ben's, who's from Berg. Sitting to the left of Greg Amond from Charles Borromeo on Highway 1 is Josh Rodrigue. Sitting on my left is Abbot Justin Brown, the Abbot of St. Ben's from Galliano. And all of a sudden in the afternoon meeting, I suddenly realized there were 22 dioceses represented. Now, they weren't all present, but there were a whole range of bishops there around the table. And I'm looking at them all, and I'm allegedly one of them for the moment. And it suddenly dawns on me, the smallest diocese is home at Thibodeau, Cajun people. And we have 4 around that table. Everybody else has 1. Not alone have we 4, but the 2 men sitting either side of Archbishop Regaimont are directly responsible for the formation of the men in the 2 seminaries for the journey to priesthood, if that's God's will for them. And they're both from home at Thibodeau, native born.
So if Coach Brian Kelly or Coach Nick Saban were recruiting people in the Catholic Church, they would head down south.
They would, to the best leadership. And it's from our diocese, Cajun people, Cajun faith. The deep-rooted faith of the Cajun people is an extraordinary gift that no matter what seems to be happening, it's there, it's real. We experience it mostly at funerals or weddings or great gatherings for whatever purpose, but it's there and it ripples out. And to think that we have the position that all the futures of those young men are in the hands of those 2 priests who come from here, and Abbot Brown is also from here. And that's just an incredible grace.
That's a testament. What do you do for fun?
I read and read and read. I love medieval history. I love historical novels. I love reading philosophy. I only get confused doing it, but I do it to annoy myself. I like philosophy. I like classical music. I enjoy country music. And I have the facility now, because of modern technology, that I can listen to my own native news bulletins, etc. from Ireland. I'm one of the few 5% of my nation who speak my native language still. So I listen to my native language news bulletins maybe every week, just to keep my mind alert to my own language, because language is culture. And that's why I strongly recommend to all Cajun parents and grandparents who may watch this beautiful exposition, please learn Cajun French again. Open your hearts to what's deep inside you, because language expresses culture.
So let me ask you this, Luke Bryan or Zach Brown? Or do you have another favorite? Who's your favorite country band?
I don't have a favorite country band at all, no. But who's the boss? Who do they call the boss?
Garth Brooks?
Garth Brooks, I don't like him.
Okay.
I don't, because he was supposed to come to Ireland for 4 main conferences during COVID. He created a big fuss about wanting to do 2 extra concerts, and when he didn't get his way, he didn't come at all. He upset an awful lot of people. Now, he's been back there this year, and he redeemed himself, but I don't forgive him.
All right. So once you give your word.
Bruce Springsteen is the one I'm talking about. He's the boss. Bruce Springsteen, I love him.
Yeah.
And of course, I'm a U2 fan. The Irish great group U2.
Wow.
Obviously.
So you're a rocker.
I love U2. Their lyrics, their messaging, their songs, their energy, their fabulous energy.
And I'm learning something different.
Uplifting, yeah.
I didn't realize when you get home at night and you close the door and you're resting, and you're kicking on a little U2.
Yeah, oh yeah. I love them.
Are you singing with it?
I shout with it.
Are you singing Born in the USA with the Boss?
Yes, I love the Boss.
But you were born in Ireland.
Yeah.
It's transplant though, right?
But you see, the Irish capital in America is Boston. We don't see Boston as foreign land at all. We see the Irish capital. That's what they call it in Ireland, because there's so many Irish immigrated here. We are so grateful to the United States that we had a home to go to, especially after the famine. We know there were difficulties in the beginning of the 20th century. We were rejected in society above around New York and those places. But that was all part of new immigrants coming in. We still have the same problems today, how we handle new immigrants from different lands. But it'll all settle down. It always settled down before. And so we became prominent. We began to play our part in society. And as you know, like the New York police, for example, were taken over by the Irish for many years, many generations. Everyone in New York who was a cop had an Irish surname.
Did you watch Blue Bloods?
I did. I love it.
Me too. That's a good show.
It. Oh, it's a great show. And so authentically acted as the family and the serious disagreements that come up. Wonderful stuff.
For all of your cases, including those with catastrophic significance, call Waits and Downer Law Firm.
When you look at your journey here, what did you hope to accomplish when they said, all right, we need you to lead the diocese? Up until the point we have a new bishop come in, what would you hope you accomplish?
I spoke to Archbishop Fab, whom I was now replacing temporarily. And he said, please don't just hold the diocese together until the new bishop comes. Keep things moving. And by the grace of God, I've accomplished several things that were in motion or that we've started out since. The most evident of those, you've already interviewed the outcome of that, is a man called Dr. Mark Williams. We appointed a new superintendent of schools, which was seriously needed to lift the morale of our schools after the COVID experiences and all the other things. Our teachers needed a morale lift. So appointing him was one of the very visible things we've accomplished. The other things we've accomplished are that our parishes have maintained their spirit of service despite the terribly negative effect of Hurricane Ida on our communities and on our people. And our pastors have been there with energy. We've had several gatherings of priests, the latest one being just yesterday, where they leave after a day of conversation and prayer. We leave re-energized to go out together and keep the ministry alive and the people's needs met as far as we can. That's what I believe I've accomplished. Thirdly, Catholic Charities, our agency, a small agency, kind of the hidden aspect of what our diocese does in service to the poor and the deprived and the marginalised and the needy. It's a wonderful agency. We've appointed a new executive director. She's doing a very good job. Catholic Charities is moving its ministry outward gently and quietly all the time. And we want to keep that moving and expanded. We're looking for people now to fill certain vacancies in that agency in order to strengthen it to function even more fully.
And you going back to your mama's kitchen.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I see it keeps on in you.
Yeah, yeah.
Final question. If I got Lonnie, who's in here today, watching this interview, Lonnie Thibodeau, I've got Bill Barbera, the COO, CFO. I got Dr. Mark, Jerry, Amy. I could go down the line. And I sat down with them. And I said, in one word, describe for the PJ Madden, what would be the one word that you would hope that they would say?
Joyful.
That's perfect. You said that quick. Joyful.
Yeah.
I don't think anyone's ever said that on one-on-one. Amen. Thank you so much for what you've done. Thank you for what you're doing. Thank you for listening to the signs or the vibes. You've done a great job, and I've enjoyed having you.
And I thank you so much for making people aware that our diocese and people like myself are there to be of service, to represent the best that we can, to bring out the best we can in all the people we serve. And that's not just Catholics, it's all the peoples of our communities. We're grateful to God for the deep faith of the Cajun people and for the privileged position that I hold in particular. I'm grateful to my brother priests and to all who are praying for me. And I just ask, continue the prayers that sooner rather than later, I'll get that long-awaited phone call that the bishop is about to be announced. Praise God. Thank you, Martin.
Thank you, and I'll allow you to go and watch some Blue Bloods now. Thank you for
God bless you, my delight.
For all of your cases, including those with catastrophic significance, call Waits and Downer Law Firm. This one-on-one program has been brought to you by the law offices of Waits and Downer.